In a world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes, an elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad. Welcome back to the IP Squad and our ongoing investigation into live-action adaptations of video game movies. And also, I should add, now as an addendum, because people brought up, theatrically released ones. We're also not doing any straight-to-video stuff because I don't want to be here all day, and I don't want to have to watch that second Doom movie they made.
We got enough paperwork as it is.
Oh, it's at
the headquarters. So.
As you're hearing that other voice, that's right, because this season is a Calling All Cars season, and we've got back with us Elliott Lewis.
Hello,
Elliott. This was when I was talking about doing video game adaptations. Pretty quickly, you seized upon Silent Hill. We brought you in for Mortal Kombat, which worked out. Mm-hmm. But this was immediately where you wanted to go. And that makes a lot of sense. I think people have heard you on other podcasts would assume this seems very up your alley.
Yes. Although it may surprise you to know, I have never actually physically played any Silent Hill games. Because as much as I love horror, as our darling viewers know,
yes.
I'm a huge scaredy cat also, especially when it comes to games. If I'm having to do the thing, we're gonna have a rough time.
Sure, I mean that makes sense. I follow that logic. I also have as much as I love horror, I've just never been drawn to the survival horror or explorational. Games in general where you have to mill about are not my jam. So I was always drawn, and I don't know if these franchises are actually pitted against each other anyway, but I always looked at I was always been a big Resident Evil fan, and I was
which is interesting because they are both survival horror games.
They are, but particularly as the Resident Evil franchise went on, and my beloved Resident Evil 4, as Michael Lissman and I always talk about, is the height. Mm-hmm. It may be the height of video games. Started to get more action-y, more, secret agent-y, that kind of stuff, but with horror elements. And I feel like that game, actually, Resident Evil 4, not that we're not here to talk about it, but is a perfect example of doing both really well. And then they've kind of slid back and forth between those. But that was the thing. To me, Silent Hill always seemed kind of boring in some ways, I guess, or tedious to play, I suppose.
Yeah, I get that. I have seen, because I haven't actually played them, but I have watched playthroughs.
Yes, right.
We live in that age where
you make them for our channel.
Can't play, it's true. We do it for a Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But I have seen things from people. I mean, the Silent Hill is, it's not divisive, but the people who love Silent Hill really love Silent Hill.
Yes.
And if you are a person who doesn't like Silent Hill, voicing that opinion can be rough.
Well, I'll tell you, I was reading background on this movie, and credited screenwriter Roger Avery talked about as soon as he was announced, he was flooded with mail of fans saying, no, only I know how to adapt this. Or people sending them their own scripts, and people going, and then, of course, the death threats come in, which always is crazy to me. The idea of, I love this franchise so much, I will kill you.
It just seems a little I can't imagine having that much time in my day,
No, there are things that, I get it. There are I love Star Trek more than almost anything in the world, but I have disliked Star Trek things, and I have never sought to hunt anyone down for writing those.
Yeah.
But it did sound like he really got the brunt of that and experienced that firsthand. By the way, before even the movie came out, just the idea that he was even working on it.
Just that anyone was working on. Like if you would ask anyone on the street, like I'm not even sure what they would have said as like, well, this is who should do it.
Right. I mean, it's an interesting thing because this was a franchise, like we've talked about with most of the games. Obviously, anytime any of these games, or really anything in any medium that can be adapted, becomes a certain level of popularity, studios start sniffing around and going, hey, is there a thing? And the creators of the game seem pretty reluctant to...
Team Silent was... I mean, Christoph Gans talks about that in various interviews from the time. That the Team Silent guys, because it's not a huge team either in Japan, the original Team Silent at least. So they were very wary of themselves. I mean, which that makes sense.
It does. Unfortunately, they did back the wrong horse maybe here based on the movie I saw. But he really went to great lengths, including shooting his own short film that he sent to Japan to prove he was the guy to do this.
Yeah, and I haven't watched this movie in a very long time.
This is first viewing for me.
I don't think I've watched it since I was, a very opinionated teenager.
So this came out, we should say, this is 2006 is Silent Hill.
Yes, 2006 is Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And so watching it as an adult who knows more about, like, researching movies and a little more about how movies get made, there are things in here that I appreciated, if not more aesthetically than like the story is still dog shit.
Oh yeah.
But there are a lot of aesthetic choices in this movie that are like really good. I mean, and the production designer and the cinematographer did a fucking fantastic job.
I like at least one of Gans' other films, which is Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is what he had a lot of heat on him from, because that was sort of a French film that had made an impact in the U.S. and was in a genre. It's sort of, but I will say it's not like Silent Hill. It's much more action with a tinge of horror.
Yeah, not quite as like intimate, I guess.
No, I mean it was actually my other podcast, Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. Brendan Jones vetoed it for not being enough of a werewolf movie for us to cover.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah,
I just think he didn't want to watch a foreign film.
Subtitles. But anyway, he's the guy is, I've never seen his Necronomicon movie, which is what he first sort of burst on the scene with. But the guy is, Jeffrey Combs is in it. That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. But Jeffrey Combs in a Lovecraft thing, I can't possibly imagine. No, he's certainly a guy who I think has a strong understanding of visual language and storytelling and interesting sensibilities, and obviously surrounds himself with a great team of artists. No, I agree. I think most of the reviews I was reading from the time also talked about, like, clearly a lot of work went into this, and there's a lot of talented people working on it. And I actually think he also got a cast of really good actors, like, who have nothing to do.
Absolutely.
Not a single one of them.
No. Yeah.
Man, and I gotta say,
really disappointing.
It's so disappointing because they're game. They're all doing their best with nothing. Man, Sean Bean has to be concerned for 45 minutes of the movie.
His scenes are such.
Because he's just what?
Less than nothing, really.
What? Like, that's just the whole movie. Just like, what? Where? And then poor Radha Mitchell, who I could, because I also said the other thing I was thinking, the alternate title of this movie could have been Sharon. Sharon.
She gets to say a couple lines every 15 minutes, but mostly it is, "Hey, wait, Sharon," and that's pretty much it.
Or at a certain point when she's talking to others, she's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what about my daughter?"
Yeah. Have you seen my daughter? I'm looking for my daughter. Even Harry doesn't say that as much.
No. It's it's just I don't, and yet it was obviously successful enough that they made another one.
Yes, and sure.
You may be more clicked into this. What was the we've talked about the rabid fan base for this thing, very passionate about. What was the reaction? I can't imagine it was overwhelmingly positive from the diehards.
It was not, because and to a certain extent, like I get being disappointed by it because of the story, and the included game elements that were in it. Obviously, death threats are not okay, but
yeah.
But no, this movie is not acceptable. That was my gut word I was going.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
I found it. Yeah, I just found it insufferable too. It's number one. It's over 2 hours long.
It's so long.
I really. At a certain point when I paused it and it still had an hour, I was only halfway through it. I'm like, oh my god, and it just crawls, and it's getting to. It's doing a thing I hate in horror movies, which it just feels like it's just treading water to get to the reveal at the end of the movie, and it's so not worth it when you get there.
No. And I think that is that sucks because it is so baffling, and I still haven't I was not able to find an answer to this in my research. Maybe I didn't look hard enough, but because the biggest change from the game narrative of Silent Hill 1 to this movie is that it's like about witch trials and shit instead of like a demonic cult thing. And I don't
weird.
So here John, as
yes.
he has said, is not familiar with Silent Hill.
I mean, really, beyond the aesthetics, I know nothing about the mythology or story.
So the basic premise of the first game, Silent Hill 1, is this guy, Harry Mason, is taking his adopted daughter, Cheryl. Also, her name's Cheryl in the game, and it's
there seemed to be a lot of.
What was the point?
This is something I often complain about, and other people I know complain about in comic book adaptations, where there's just like, why? There's like sometimes I can follow what the thinking is, but sometimes it does just feel like arbitrary name changes. Yeah. Cheryl, by the way, Cheryl to Sharon is so close too. Why?
It's so close. Baffling.
Yeah.
So Harry Mason is taking his adoptive daughter Cheryl to Silent Hill because she has been dreaming about it. And in a similar vein to this movie, when he and his wife adopted her, they just didn't know anything about her past.
Yeah.
So he's taking her there, and he crashes his car and wakes up, and Cheryl is gone, and he has to make his way through the town. He meets Sybil, the cop, who's in the movie. That's all the same.
Okay.
The Dahlia Gillespie character is Cheryl's biological mother, and over the course of the game, as Harry Mason, you discover that Alessa was the daughter of Dahlia, and Dahlia is the head of this weird demonic cult, and she mutilated and tortured her own daughter and kept her alive as like a burnt husk of a person to cause her enough pain that they would be able to do this ritual that would bring their cult's god into existence. And so as Harry Mason, you are kind of, and the otherworld stuff and all the monsters in Silent Hill are because of Alessa's kind of like magic psychic powers that she is using to torture all of the people that hurt her, including her mother. And that's the basic premise of it.
Well, and so
it's like Silent Hill is just like a normal place. It's supposed to be like a normal place, and it has kind of become this weird, creepy ghost town.
So the metaphysical shifting of dimensions is not from the game?
No, it is.
Okay, all right. But but it's
every once in a while, in similarly to the movie, you transition into the other world, and that's where all of the like chain link aesthetic and all of the like kind of rust and gore and stuff kind of comes from. But there are monsters in the world that is just the fog place too.
Okay, got it. All right, yeah, it's really interesting. I couldn't find anything about those specific changes either. About I didn't know but I didn't see anything in my research either that came across why they changed that, other than of course the Oh God, we were talking about this beforehand. There are so many really strange quotes from Christoph Gans about.
Yeah, the one that I actually came across before, like weeks before we even were going to record this, and I was like, I have to save this because
I wonder if it's the same one I have here. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is an interview, and the interview you can actually find on SilentHillMemories.net.
Oh, you went deeper than I did if you went to there.
Yeah. So this is from the official Silent Hill blog. They've sort of like put a bunch of stuff on SilentHillMemories.net.
Yeah.
But so this is from an interview from March 6th of 2006. And he is Christoph Gans is asked why they did not stay true to the story using the father, Harry Mason, as the main character.
Okay. You have the same quote I do. Please go ahead.
Okay,
it's fucking nuts.
Fucking bonkers. Okay. They started with Harry Mason. And so Christoph Gans then says, it quickly became clear, however, Harry never acted like a masculine character. He was constantly dizzy, fainting, talking to himself, screaming, and in fact was very vulnerable. We didn't want to betray the nature of the game by changing the character's feelings and motivations, so we felt it was better to change to a female protagonist and retain all those important qualities. I don't want people to think that I have been politically correct, quote unquote, because we changed Harry into Rose. There is no political correctness in Silent Hill. Absolutely buck wild from start to finish.
Truly insane. And then imagine that he's saying this in a French accent too.
Yeah, I should have.
No, yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right.
There is no political correctness in Silent Hill.
Which, by the way, is a very French thing to say. If you've heard any French celebrity talk about like cancel culture, they've got some crazy shit over there.
Yeah. And this was 2006.
2006.
If he had known, I bet Christoph Gans' favorite phrase is cancel culture.
100%. This guy's. They would cancel me for doing the Silent Hill today. Culture. Yeah. Number one.
Incroyable.
I mean, just hugely problematic to start with. I mean, just
yeah.
Like,
fellas, is it gay to love your daughter?
I know. I'm just going like. I would argue my response to that would be, that's interesting you point that out. That makes him sort of a unique protagonist in stuff. Oh,
weird.
That's kind of. He's just like, no, why he act like woman when he's supposed to be man?
No, he's like the woman.
Yeah. And then that leads to the other insane thing that then I love that this whole thing turns back and becomes problematic in a different direction, because then he made all the characters female, basically all the lead characters. And the big studio note was, why no men? Which
and so
something that's never been said in Hollywood beforehand.
Yeah, of course, it was the first time.
Why no men? He had to compromise and add, I would argue, truly the worst parts of the movie.
The
expansion,
inarguably the worst
expansion of the husband, who was in the movie at the very beginning and the very end, apparently originally, but was expanded into a major character, and then the creation of the wildly unnecessary Kim Coates character, even though Kim Coates, very good actor, but truly has nothing to do, and nothing comes of any of that.
No, exactly. It nothing comes of it, and so it seems just completely like he shot himself in the foot for nothing.
Yes. Now here's something really insane. We talked about this movie's way too long. The cut he turned into the studio was 3.5 hours. And then he basically goes, I was forced to compromise my vision.
And you know that, like, that would probably just get made today. It would just probably happen.
Well, now there'd be a whole thing about release the Gans cut, right? Yeah, it was short. It was shortened by 90 minutes at the insistence of the producers. This guy thought no matter what the quality of the movie, he thought in 2006 anyone was going to pay to watch a 3.5 hour. Dude, I know you're French, but come on, like that's crazy talk.
You gotta know that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Le Peter Jackson did it with Lord of the Rings.
You know he brought that up. You know he brought that up. And apparently he's mad about the DVD release ruining the imagery of the movie. Apparently he didn't like the way it was compressed, which he may have been right about. I have no idea.
Sure, I don't have the DVD.
That's why. But he spent 8 days himself optimizing the rendering and color grading for the international home video release. I mean, this guy. I'll give this guy.
About it.
He's got a vision.
Right?
I think he's sincere in all these statements.
Weird sexist bullshit.
Oh yeah.
For at least a couple seconds.
Yes.
You gotta give the man a little bit of credit for the dedication.
And actually reading about the actors, they all studied material, and Deborah Kara Unger talks about learning about the witch trials and stuff like that, and you're just going like, for this movie?
For what? For what?
Yeah, I can really see that in her performance. Yeah, you just go, and it's so many, and it's some of it I really do take with a grain of salt because they're on the press junket or whatever. When you've got Radha Mitchell talking about, I was so scared reading the script. And you're just like, were you?
Okay, sure. All right.
It's chilling. Number one, scripts are so dryly written to begin with. I can't imagine really being scared reading screenplay format.
Yeah, when we were doing the first read through. Sitting around in folding chairs in our sweatpants.
Here's a quote from Deborah Kara Unger, who called the movie Alice in Wonderland meets Dante's Inferno. I mean, I kind of see what she's getting at, but that's that's an insult to those things, I guess.
Yeah. And also, Silent Hill 1 included references to The Wizard of Oz and Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World, but not Alice in Wonderland. So.
I do like that Sean Bean was the only cast member who admitted, I never fucking touched the games for a second.
And you know what? That is the least surprising thing I've ever heard.
No idea, didn't care, didn't want to play them, no interest. And yet he's also the only cast member who comes back in the next one.
Who comes back for Revelations or
Silent Hill Revelation 3D.
3D.
Yeah. No, Deborah Kara Unger also comes back. I guess that makes sense. Because
I guess her character is what, man. I mean, dude, when we get to Silent Hill Revelations, you're gonna be like,
I gotta say,
I'm sorry, none of this was in the first movie.
Yeah. I know the whole idea that apparently this third movie that the guy has made has nothing to do with these. It doesn't. I mean, just reading the plot description, it doesn't sound like the second one has much to do with this one.
No,
so
it doesn't.
The thing you're talking about from the video games too, based on what Gans is saying, is he took the plot of the first game, but the aesthetics from the second game.
Yes. So he was incorporating things from the all three of the games that I guess he had, because 2006 is when Silent Hill 4: The Room came out. So I don't think any of that would have made it into the movie anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So he included things from the other Silent Hill games. Now 3 is a direct sequel to 1.
Okay.
So those include kind of the kind of stuff from there makes sense. However, the other problem that Silent Hill fans have with this movie and the third one is the inclusion of things from Silent Hill 2. Now,
right.
This is because, and I'm going to start to sound like, because this makes sense to me.
Okay.
So Silent Hill 2 is a completely separate story. Involving a different guy and a couple of other tertiary characters who have also stumbled into Silent Hill, and there is nothing with Alessa and her the cult thing really on the surface of that one. In that, it is more that the town of Silent Hill, the kind of, it's its own entity of sorts, and these people are there because they are being punished, and the town is an entity, and the things in it are punishing them.
Got it. Okay.
And so the monsters in 2, and I mean the monsters in 1 are specifically like projections from Alessa, so they are like personal. Right. At least to her, if not to Harry.
Okay.
But in Silent Hill 2, the monsters are reflections of James, at least the ones James sees, are reflections of his, I guess, sins, like the transgressions that he has committed. And so, them showing up in a Silent Hill 1 movie doesn't make sense because they are specific to James as a character and the things that he has done and the way that he is as a person.
Right.
So the first enemy that Sybil like shoots with her gun,
the weird like armless goo thing that spit goo
that spits acid.
It spits acid.
That is a Silent Hill 2 monster.
Right.
And Pyramid Head, famously a Silent Hill 2 monster.
The first thing I think of, and knowing very little, I know Pyramid Head at the very least.
And so, right, like, at least the inclusion of Pyramid Head, like, okay, sure, yeah, like,
you've got,
I get that that is like the iconic thing.
Well,
that if you don't play Silent Hill, then like, I want to see Pyramid Head. But also, if you haven't played the Silent Hill games, why would you want to watch the movie in the first place?
What do you care? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing Gans said, is he really, really wanted to make a faithful adaptation of Silent Hill 2. But then, this is the most Hollywood franchise.
Which, like, that's a dude. That's a very masculine man.
Yeah,
I would say from a French perspective. Like, what the? Anyway,
this man, such a man. He don't care about anybody. He don't love his daughter.
He cheat on his sick wife. This is a French movie already.
This man, the hero. So but he's like, I realize no one will understand anything if I just jump to that game. So I need to introduce the town and the whole concept of it. But I want to keep the aesthetics of Silent Hill 2. And so this is his compromised vision of, I need to explain where everything is so I can eventually make the movie I really want, but that has all the cool shit in it that I wanted to put in it, so I'm going to do that. Now, the new movie he's just made, and literally as we're talking, like today, as we're recording this, it got American distribution. They don't have a date yet, but somebody has bought it.
Just today, okay.
Literally just today, an American company has agreed to, because it was, surprise, surprise, he's produced it in France. Anyway, crazy. With independent money, because I don't think studios are particularly interested in this franchise anymore. But it is the faithful adaptation of Silent Hill 2 that he always dreamed of, is what he's saying.
Interesting.
So,
okay. I guess I'm not surprised that it's picked up American distribution now, though, because the remake of Silent Hill 2 just came out in October of last year. So, and that's been really, really popular. So I'm not surprised.
And somebody grabbed it who's got some money, but is not, a major studio. But anyway, apparently now finally I give you the movie you always dreamed of.
James Sunderland.
So anyway, so that's how we end up with the movie we come up with. Now, into this whole mix, we should bring in Roger Avary, who's the screenwriter of this movie. Probably most famous for being the other guy who worked at Video Archives with Quentin Tarantino. He is professionally Quentin Tarantino's best friend. You can listen to their podcast. I don't personally recommend it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean,
it exists though.
You also don't have to. That's the best thing about it.
That's why I said you can. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of Quentin Tarantino's movies. Kind of don't like him anytime he opens his mouth. He needs to stop putting microphones in front of Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, So I mean, like, he did make a movie in the 90s that Tarantino produced called Killing Zoe. That's not bad. It's a sort of out of sync, or out of continuity heist movie that moves in non-linear. It's a non-linear. Yeah. Can you believe that? Anyway, the only other like big thing the next year he wrote Robert Zemeckis' Beowulf, which is a whole thing.
Its whole own thing.
But he came in basically, I think, because the studio got concerned about Christoph Gans going, the movie's about motherhood and witches, and they brought in Roger Avary to be like, could you get a story around what this guy's rambling about? And it seems like there was a lot of butting of heads of Gans wanting to do something very ethereal and metaphysical, and Roger Avary going, it needs a 3-act structure.
God, I cannot.
And you know what? Watching the movie, you kind of you get that feeling of like he's trying to wrangle these ideas into a movie, and this guy's going, and then this thing. They talk about he and his producer, whatever, the Gans's cohort on this thing, who, as they talk about, conceived the whole vision of the movie. They would just send him like atmospheric videos. Roger Avery would just get sent like pieces of music and atmospheric videos, which he has now said he just completely ignored. But they would just go,
yeah,
because that sounds infuriating as a writer.
Oh, I
just nonsense.
Sit at my desk like, what is this guy fucking talking about?
Yeah, just and Roger Avery is being a Tarantino. He's a real straight ahead movie nerd, screenplay, like, classic structure, characters, dialogue. Because that's another thing too. Is just like Gans apparently went through the script, going, why they talk so much?
Which, yeah, there are some things in here that maybe would have been a little more interesting. I just really wish that it had opened like 28 days later. Like, I think that would have been so fucking brave. And
if we had just started with her having already crashed the car.
And piecing together what happened.
The beginning of the movie's pretty dumb, I will say.
It's pretty dumb.
As is, because it's just, the movie acts like it's starting in media res, right? Like it's like we just jump into the daughter Sharon is sleepwalking, and when they catch up with her, she says Silent Hill.
She just screams Silent Hill.
Yeah. And then everyone who that would happen to, obviously your first instinct would be like, I guess we gotta go to Silent Hill.
Yeah. I mean, it seems logical to me.
I mean, Rhoda Mitchell's character, Rose De Silva, is so instantly like, that's what we got to do. And her husband, Sean Bean, Christopher De Silva, is a little bit more like, I don't know.
Maybe we should go to the hospital instead?
Yeah, it seems like mental illness, because this is their adopted child, we should say. So there's the kid already sort of has a mysterious past, because we'll find out later that she was dropped on the doorstep of an orphanage. And and they know that. So they know that this sort of mysterious circumstances. And yeah, once again, Rhoda Mitchell's character is like, we got to do the detective work and figure this whole thing out. And Sean Bean is like, maybe treat whatever underlying disorder is happening here. I'm kind of team Sean Bean at that point.
A little bit.
Yeah, Sean Bean just fucking doing his best with that American accent.
He is.
It never fully breaks through, but he never really achieves American either.
But he also doesn't say a lot of lines, like, or a lot of words in a row.
No.
Ever. So that's helps.
And I love Sean Bean, and I felt so, as we talked, just like, what do you do? How much money did you need? And then enough to be like, yeah, I'll do another round of this. Sure, why not?
Yeah, Game of Thrones hadn't started yet. So.
No, he's in a kind of a weird place in his career, because it's got to be around the same time that he did the remake of The Hitcher.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. I was gonna say, I think this is also
that was the next year, yeah.
National Treasure.
Yeah, 04. So yeah,
yeah.
He's also in Troy. He's kind of like either bad guy or like fifth lead in big studio fare. At this point. And then Percy Jackson is after this, where he plays Zeus. So, he's in a weird place.
Percy Jackson? I saw that movie in the theater. I do not remember. Well, yeah. Okay. I guess it's probably fine that I don't remember anything from that movie. I saw it with the guy I was dating at the time, and that was like not a great relationship. So I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. But yeah, he apparently was Zeus in that. I don't think I've ever seen either one of those. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. Once again, though, he's a bit adrift in his career at this point, perhaps. Yes. And that would explain why he's doing nothing in this movie. Although Gans explains it for shitty reasons, but there was a part of him that was like, oh, for a second I thought this movie was being politically correct, or purposely, sort of poking at the trope of the concerned wife who does nothing in the movie. I was like, oh, interesting, it's a concerned husband. You don't see that. Then you read Gans, you're like, never mind, this is just a guy being a piece of shit. All right, got it, great.
Yeah. I had to put him in there. Ugh, whatever.
I mean, the scenes even feel like these fucking have to be here. Is that enough of men in your movie? As a man, I really felt seen by this movie that they included men in. But so rarely do I get to see myself on screen, a white man doing something, let alone two for that matter. Yeah. The person who has the best section of the casting is, and another one of my favorites, Alice Krieg, who's the fucking best. Just flat out was like, didn't like the script, couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on, did it for the money.
Chase that paper.
Read the script, goes, I don't know what genre this is. I don't know anything about this. This character I can't get into on any kind of personal level at all. She seems to just be evil for the sake of it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show up, say my lines, I'll be my trailer.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough, lady. You're a great British stage actress, and get that money. Well, and post Star Trek, I think the Borg Queen really, like, then every role like this came her way. They're like, do you need a witch?
Yeah,
do you need
sense.
After that, it's sort of her career fundamentally shifts after that. You're like, oh, creepy kind of lady. And you know what? I will say she's got more energy than a lot of people in this movie, even though her scenes don't make sense. I mean, I guess they make some level of the witch trial stuff that then turns into like the science experiment stuff.
Yeah, there's some kind of subplots in the game about like like experimental drugs and drug trafficking, but it's not really like a to B in terms of adapting that. So
well, and also
I'm not even sure if that was related.
Also, just a crucial film mistake, just stopping the movie for 20 minutes as they go, here's everything. Yeah. And then we go to, Gans was jazzed about it. It'll be a jittery old film, And you're like, okay,
a movie within a movie. Brilliant.
Normally this is one of the segments I do at the end, but I feel like now is the perfect time to bring in my personal favorite film critic, Roger Ebert, and his thoughts on Silent Hill, to which I went, oh no, Roger had to see this.
He was still kicking, so
He was still kicking. He had to go see this. He's missed a couple of these on some past episodes.
Okay.
He is. I think there have been a couple where he's just like, I'm not going to that unless it's the Tomb Raider. He fucking loved those Tomb Raider movies, man. Loved. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Oh, he doesn't even hide it in the reviews why he loves them. He says it. Anyway, though, believe it or not, 1.5 stars for Silent Hill.
That's more than I expected.
Yeah. Mostly for the visuals. Once again, he goes, I think there's some really interesting visuals in this movie. But the quote I want to read here, I think that I agree with. He goes, although I did not understand the story, I would have appreciated a great deal less explanation. All through the movie, characters are pausing in order to offer arcane backstories and historical perspectives and metaphysical insights and occult orientations. They talk, and somehow their words do not light up any synapses in my brain. I gotta say, that one of the reasons I loved Ebert was that guy could turn a phrase.
Yeah.
And when he didn't like something, oh man, that pen was razor sharp. And yeah, I mean, his whole review is basically just like, look, maybe if I played and then from the sound of it, if you didn't, because he's just going like, I don't know anything about these games. Maybe people love the games, will love this movie. If they do, great. He's just like, you can't follow anything that's happening. And this whole idea too, there's a lot of Gans quotes about like, the characters in the game are really, very flat. We wanted to, bring depth to them. Like you didn't.
Did you?
No, I couldn't tell you anything about any of these characters. I mean, we haven't even really talked about Laurie Holden as the cop, Sybil.
Sybil.
She's just cop lady.
Now, granted, it's not like they're working from a lot.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the game, right?
Right.
She is just sort of cop lady in the game,
Which is
too,
what he's acknowledging, but he's acting like they did something.
Exactly. Like, but there was no, it seems like there was no real attempt, except for like, I mean, right, except for all this stupid motherhood shit. Like, Sybil gets that line, mother is God in the eyes of a child, and it's like, okay, gag me.
Yeah, Gans had to have written that. There's no way that was an Avery thing, because all he talks about is the whole movie is about once he made the main character a woman, then the whole movie became about motherhood. Yeah, but you're just like, and you have what to say about motherhood?
Fuck all, it seems.
I don't know what point he's making. Laurie Holden, who's in I would call it a severe haircut. It's not only short, but it's chopped and spiky, and it's just like she's action lady, and
she is. I do think it's a good cut. She has a good face structure for it.
Yeah, I once again, I like Laurie Holden. I know her from Walking Dead. I'm sure a lot of people do. She's another good actress. It just would. Also, I don't know what police department anywhere issues leather pants to their officers. That really got me. And the other thing was, you mentioned the scene where they first meet that monster. Look, I'm not in favor of trigger-happy cops, but if something is spitting acid with no arms and going, go ahead and empty the clip in its face. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that thing can go.
Probably fine.
There's not a shooting board in the world that would indict you for that. My God. Yeah. But yeah, she's just cop lady, and then she dies a horrifying death.
A pointless, horrifying death.
I don't understand it. Yeah, it's just like she dies not just burned, but like slowly lowered towards fire, and you're watching her skin burn apart.
It's like full off, and
yeah, just going it's one of the most graphic parts of the movie and then it is just like, and now she's dead.
And now she's dead, and no one's gonna like acknowledge that or talk about it ever again.
No, they also just 100% steal the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Don't look. And Gans is like, I know not just American movie you reference. Yeah, it's
no.
Yeah, no. Not see this. Never seen it. I can't imagine Gans's last movie before this, Silent Hill, is his version of Beauty and the Beast. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. I heard that it might have been it might have been another live action Sleeping Beauty that was good. There was some like fairy tale live action movie that came out around that time that was actually kind of good, but I don't think it was.
I don't think it's this, based on the 39 Metacritic score.
Yeah, it's probably not that one then.
I just can't. This guy's whole vibe, and then Beauty and the Beast. Even though he's got Vincent Cassel and Léa Seydoux, who are good actors once again. I mean, but like, oh God, some of the imagery though I'm looking at in these pictures here is weird. Believe it or not, this guy.
It's no Jean Cocteau's La Belle et la Bête. Let's just say
that. Although it's called that because it's in French again. Yeah, and so no, it does. Oh God, and Vincent Cassel and mocap as the Beast. It's all CG. Talking about CG in this movie, I want to talk about
my God,
I want to talk about the bugs.
So bad.
It's real bad. Even for 2006, it's bad, right?
Literally, I can't remember what this is in reference to, but one of my notes about the monsters is it's giving Brothers Grimm, I fear.
Yeah. I mean, it's that thing where it feels rushed and unrendered. When the bugs are running around and there's a million of them, and I'm going, you know what? Go back 7 years and I'll take the scarabs from the Mummy over this, man.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the scarabs look like masterpieces in comparison.
Absolutely. It just looked like garbage. And they're skittering all around. The other thing this movie does, speaking to its length and just how bored I was by so much of it, the movie keeps running into these things where either Radha Mitchell by herself or with Laurie Holden's character, they'll run into something, they'll be terrified of it, they're trying to shut it out, or she's trying to shoot it, and then after a beat, they think, oh no, we're gonna die, and then they just turn into like mist. or whatever,
Yeah.
like, and you just go, but
Yes.
about the third time that happened, I just go, Jesus, is anything going to happen in this movie other than that? It's so anticlimactic.
Yeah, that might be a kind of pulled from. There is a thing about the Silent Hill games where the kind of diehard fans, again, and people who have played them a lot are like, you're not supposed to actually like fight the monsters.
And there you've gotten to why I didn't play the games.
You can.
Yeah.
You can. The game does give you weapons.
Right.
But atmospherically, narratively, there is a kind of, you're not supposed to. You're just supposed to run away.
Right. Right. And that's often my problem with a lot of horror survival games, which once again, as a franchise or as a genre, I'm not necessarily against. I really liked Alien Isolation. I thought did a fucking great job with it. But in general, that's sort of the thing, is it does sort of feel like you're going nowhere at that point. And I get, once again, I get where he's probably pulling some of this imagery as well from that second game, where you're talking about these are constructs of someone's mind, so just them sort of evaporating because they're just projections makes sense. But in this one, once again, he's building up to all this stuff, and then when they do explain it, as Roger Ebert's saying, I'm going, wait, what? I mean, I kind of get it. But why? And particularly, why should I care? And by the time they're getting to, this girl is the representation of the goodness of this woman who's been trapped, and your daughter is her daughter, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little esoteric in the game as well, because that is sort of this, again, not like the kind of Christianization of it, but like, yeah, Alessa is technically a grown woman and Cheryl is I guess almost an avatar, I suppose, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I once again, I think the little girl playing her does a good job. Everyone in the interviews is like, we were just blown away by how amazing she was. I'm like, yeah, I think she's really good.
She's a great child actor. I mean, she's
Jodelle Ferland is her name.
She was also in The Ring.
Yep. Well, she talks about like her career, I think, because of The Ring. Like, it's almost exclusively horror stuff.
Yeah. Although she was the voice of Lilo in Lilo and Stitch and the English voice of Chihiro in Spirited Away.
Now that's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I believe that's the same person. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not just like saying stuff.
I don't know. Oh God, she played little Carrie in that TV movie of Carrie that we watched during the.
Oh, she so did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she played a creepy little girl on Smallville.
Nope, I'm just saying stuff.
Okay. Never mind.
Sorry, Divi Chase.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Oh God.
And actually, that was also who was Samara in the
Okay, so that was the same person, but that person isn't this girl.
Here.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not seeing it, but I don't want to say if that wasn't right. But yeah, she's
Just cut that out.
Yeah. we don't edit this, so and then she was in The Tall Man, which I did not see.
I
Jessica
did.
Biel.
It's
I have a
bad.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might have seen it, and
yeah,
I don't watch most things that Jessica Biel's in, and I feel okay in that.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
I mean, it's not a hatred, but I'm not sure I've ever seen her be really good in anything.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't think I have either, especially not The Tall Man.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna be good in The Tall Man, though. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what this fell into to me. This movie I kind of wrote off as just because so many, even being a horror fan, so many horror movies come out in a year, and I think I saw the trailers for this and just went like, I think I thought it looked boring, and it is, because I do get bored at movies that are trying so hard. There's a fine line between building atmosphere and just dragging in pace. And unfortunately, I see way too many movies that fall into the latter category where it's like, no, it's not interesting. This movie I don't find remotely scary. I mean, at all.
Mm-mm.
And you'll love this Gans quote. He describes the movie as a combination of science fiction, Clive Barker, and hardcore horror.
Hey, Christoph, what does that mean?
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Clive Barker's
Explain it to me.
Clive Barker's like, keep my name out your fucking mouth.
Clive Barker looking up from a book.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Why have I been dragged into this? Yeah, I don't
Am
know.
I British? Elliot can't remember.
I believe Clive Barker is British. Yeah. Clive Barker, of course he is. He has to be, right? Yeah.
Why am I? Don't drag me into this.
Oh boy. Okay. So I just keep noticing more things on this, on the Wikipedia here, because let's talk about him talking about the themes of the movie once again.
Oh, please.
Gans stated that motherhood in the film is about immaculate conception, which he described as motherhood achieved in the noblest way.
Where is that in the movie?
I don't know. The film then turns into a cautionary tale warning against religious fanaticism. I mean, yeah.
Sure.
The director noted that monotheistic Abrahamic religions constantly attack the idea of femininity, but at the same time, the film is not moralizing. He's really big on being like...
I guess that's true because the movie isn't anything.
No, that's
doing anything.
I do feel like every time he says anything, he has to. It's like the political correctness thing. It's like they're women, but it's not politically correct. It doesn't like religion, but it's not moralizing. You know, it's just like, yeah, no. It's like, okay, what is it then? Yeah, it's all about immaculate conception. What?
Like the only thing that is even a little bit immaculate conception is like Alessa hiding inside of Rose and then like being metaphysically birthed out of her.
Yeah. The town represents the fractured psychology, different dimensions, different doubles of the same person.
Yes, that is actually a thing from the game.
Yeah. Oh God. Then he goes on. I mean, the stuff he said, it just once again. The other thing that's always, I think, wrapped up in this, or once again the aforementioned Resident Evil, or a lot of stuff that comes of these games that are created in Japan. So they're very interesting to me because they're always this Japanese view of these genre elements, or specifically Japanese view of specifically American things. I think that's one of the reasons why something like a Metal Gear Solid would be very tough to get into a movie, because it's a very specific Japanese guy's view of American action films. And so you're that's the thing that's kind of, there's a goofiness that's endearing about them where you're just like, oh, like every time I play the Resident Evil games, you're like, oh, this is a Japanese guy's idea, or a team of Japanese people's idea of a clean-cut American hero and how he sounds, and you're just like, but it's kind of wrong, but that adds this cartoonishness to it that's fun. And I feel like here you have now a French guy bringing in all this stuff to, but then also going back to, goes, I like the idea that they're like Japanese spirits. And you're like, yeah, but you don't really know what the fuck you're talking about, do you?
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And and there is a charm to Silent Hill. I think especially the second one, that like it is, because Silent Hill is both a Japanese view of, and so also an important thing about at least Team Silent's projects in the Silent Hill franchise is that there are no Japanese versions. Right. The games are written in English and were voice casted in English. There are no Japanese versions, quote unquote.
Interesting.
But it's like a Japanese view of both like American small town horror, but also like American small town melodrama, which is so interesting to me.
That's the thing that I think is always so fun about, like I said, a lot of these Japanese games that take place in America, is you do get another culture's view, mostly through other pieces of pop culture of our culture. And so it kind of like reflects back to us in this weird way that's super fun to me, about like, oh wow, that's unlike anything I'm familiar with. It creates something new by like a reflection of a reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. It also creates a kind of uncanny valley, and I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it kind of does add another layer of at least discomfort, if not horror.
Yeah, I mean, once again, having not played these games specifically, but like all of that interest or anything interesting is just zapped out of this movie in an attempt to be quote unquote scary. I feel like everything in this movie is supposed to be so eerie, and yet
just wait till we get to the Pop-Tart jump scare in Revelations.
Well, number one, the idea that Revelation is also made in that boom of 3D is gonna, I think, really play a big factor in it. It's like a half hour shorter though, which I'm happy about.
Which is great.
Give me a 95-minute movie. Come on. The other thing I want to mention is we were talking about the bad CGI, and that's very much very clear in the finale of the movie, which had to be completely reconceived due to budget constraints. In the original script, 6 pyramid heads were to break into the church and start slaughtering all the cult members with various weapons. This became, they ran out of time and money, so he goes, just make it barbed wire. Everybody gets killed by barbed wire.
That's a great deal. That would have been a great deal of pyramid heads.
Yeah. Because it looks so bad. The barbed wire looks so bad. No, it took me a second to figure out it was barbed wire.
Yeah.
It just looked like things coming out, and you're just like, what is it? Was it rope? What is it? Spikes?
That's where Clive Barker comes in.
Oh, yeah. Actually, when Clive Barker heard about that and goes, I'm suing now. No. Yeah, it's dumb. And also the poor actress just coated in goop, having to just be there and staring at Radha Mitchell like, yeah, I'm killing everyone. Yay.
So exciting.
Apparently a big point of, speaking of the ending of the movie, a big point of contention of the between Gans and Avery was the end of the movie as well, which is Avery had written a reasonably happy ending where they escape, and Gans like, no, we need to leave with a feeling of terror. That's very, I'm sure, I guarantee you, somebody says, that's very American of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But instead, the ending isn't scary as much as just like, okay, they're still in the silent kill universe, right? Or dimension, or right? Isn't that?
Yeah, like when you get trapped in the town part, you like are unable to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, well, you accomplish, I guess, Harry left with another baby.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that sounds like the Roger Avery script ended kind of like that, is his draft.
Well, I guess that's one of the ending. Maybe that's where the sci-fi stuff comes in. He just said it was sci-fi, because one of the endings you can get is being abducted by aliens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will say I would have respected the movie for being that out of nowhere. All right.
Apparently it's really hard to get that ending. Like, you have to do specific things.
Yeah.
There's 5 different endings that you can get depending on what you do.
But honestly, why not at that point?
Exactly, right?
Why not aliens?
End it with aliens.
Yeah, this movie didn't make any sense anyway. Yeah. But yeah, the movie just sort of ends on this, like, and I get, and is it a sequel setup? They make a sequel, but as you bring up, it doesn't involve much from this movie, I don't think.
No, in fact, if I'm remembering, like, because their names, Sean Bean's in it.
Yep.
But his name is Harry Mason in that, not Chris De Silva.
It is. Oh my God! I'm looking at the IMDb. All right, but Deborah Kara Unger's the same character.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense anyway. So.
Oh man, wait. Was Game of Thrones at this point? Because he dragged poor Kit Harington in the sequel with him.
Yeah. What year did that come out? Was that 2012?
Yes. So I think Game of Thrones had just started.
Yeah.
Come on, Kit.
Come on.
Make some money with me between seasons. Yeah.
I'll teach you how to choose weird action movies. It'll get you some money in your pocket.
Hey man, yeah.
And then a couple days later, Kit comes to him with the script for Pompeii, and Sean Bean is like, "I'm so proud of you."
Now you've done it. Now you get it. This is it. It'll make a lot of money, and in 10 years it won't exist. Nobody's.
That's the gift that you get.
I mean, it is amazing to me that Sean Bean can be in so much garbage and yet still be like an actor in some level of demand.
Yeah,
the guy's Teflon.
And fairly respected.
Yeah. I mean, the Brits, man, I swear all these British actors do that. Can just be in Michael Caine in so much garbage.
I mean, I was just listening to the Mortal Kombat episode today because I like to listen to myself be funny. But you mentioned the action movies, like Gerard Butler. I mean, Gerard Butler, he won't stop.
No. Never. In fact, we talked about him for that second Tomb Raider movie the other week. Oh,
that's right.
He's the hunk in that. Because I will say those do kind of do the reverse of where it's Daniel Craig in the first movie and then him, where they're like, and there's a sexy Croft boy.
The Croft boys.
Yeah. We don't talk about the Croft boys as much as we talk about the Bond girls. Maybe because those movies aren't super successful. And that's one. Now, see, the Tomb Raider movies, I feel like, are the opposite. I was saying that Silent Hill may fall into, and maybe somebody could crack it. I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be Gans on his second time around, but that maybe there's a movie to make. But it seems like these games, the appeal of these games is the experience of playing them, and it's kind of the common refrain I've been making all season is like, should these games become movies? The Tomb Raider games, it's baffling to me that they haven't become good movies. Like, it seems like the pieces are there.
But because I think it might have something to do with genre as well, because like I think maybe this could be more of a thing when you get to the other Mortal Kombat movie, but like, you know, fighting games we talked about on the Mortal Kombat episode have a potential to be, you know, at least halfway decent because of the genre.
Well, yeah, because
I think something like Tomb Raider, because of its like action adventure, also has that kind of, and like, you know, Indiana Jones style ish. Right?
I will say a lot of those episodes, and people have already heard them, were us going like, now I don't want to compare it to Raiders because that's not fair, but at the same time it's impossible not to if you're playing in this field. But you're just like, everything we did just go like, you just keep going like, oh, those movies are so good and there's a reason for it. And these movies are kind of failing to do that. But yeah, it does seem like there's a roadmap for those, much like with the fighting movies. There are things like Enter the Dragon or Bloodsport. There are movies that you just sort of like I almost want them to go, I don't want to stifle creativity, but it does sort of seem like maybe don't be afraid to at least glom on to things some other movies have done as an influence. Or in this case, reading all these Gans quotes, he references like 60 things that influenced this movie, and none of it, I swear he's just making shit up in interviews.
Just making shit up. It's really
just
what
every movie I've ever seen can be seen in Silent Hill is basically what he's saying, it seems like. So,
except, and actually I read this, except for the one movie that inspired Silent Hill, Jacob's Ladder, which I think this movie could have really, I think some Jacob's Ladder could have helped this movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, because that's a movie that has atmosphere to it, that actually has a vibe. That is interesting. He, without specifically doing that, he is kind of playing in that realm. Oh, yeah. It's
But I guess.
Oh my god!
And this is something I've been thinking about.
Sorry, go ahead. But I have another insane Gans thing. Go ahead though.
Oh, nice. But thinking about leading up to this episode is as game because the sort of trajectory that this show is on a little bit is, you know, we're starting in the 90s where, you know, video games haven't just been invented, but like are kind of on the upswing
in terms of now where if you look at where they are there compared to now where it's like, especially now they're so being rated because like they're the biggest money making piece of media.
Yes. And as as like the technology improves and the I guess graphics improve in terms of at least top out capabilities. Like
Right.
there are a lot of games being made with, different styles and different levels of quality, and there's kind of been a, return to the more uh like fewer polygon
Well, because
era.
for the
But
longest time, it always felt like that we're chasing photorealism was the goal, and it
yes,
does feel
which
like
is
that's backed off a little bit, or at least isn't the whole of the industry.
yeah, at least in the indie sphere.
Yeah, for sure.
Um but right as we're kind of getting closer and closer to photorealism in at least AAA games, I mean there's a question of, so what's the point of adapting
Yeah.
a game to a movie? Because unfortunately video games have sort of been chasing the like prestige movie thing
Oh yeah.
as well, again at least AAA games. So it's sort of, we're sort of going into a snail, what a snake eating its
Snake
own
eating its tail.
tail.
You combine snake and tail. Snail.
I did.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's an interesting thing, and it's something I'm sure will come up when we get to a movie that I think is very indicative of this question. I don't even think it's a bad movie per se, which is the Uncharted movie, where it is like, that is such a loving ode to movies, that game, all those games, that you're just like, well, that is the snake eating his tail. It's like, now you're making a movie based on a thing based on movies. Like, you're just you're a movie trying to create a game that was already trying to create the feeling of a movie.
so yeah, so what are we trying to what are we saying
Yeah.
here with all of that?
It's an interesting question, and I think we're seeing. I mean, because I do think one of the reasons we're doing this season right now, beyond, of course, there's just a shocking number of these. As I put this list together, it's crazy how many there actually are, that they keep chasing this. But it's still, there have been some successes, mostly in television, as I always say. But it still hasn't yet become like, it still hasn't become what comic books became, right? Where it's just like,
Right.
for a while there, it was just like, if you had a comic book property, for the most part, you were printing money. And video game movies are still kind of like, well, maybe. Or it's stuff like, which we're not covering because we're doing just live action ones, but like the Super Mario Brothers movie that was out, a couple years ago, where it's all just the things are now in this, and it's a nostalgia thing, right? Or it's a and that's a different thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's. Look, I'm not a huge fan of that movie. I get why it made so much money.
Right, but right, it's not because of anything interesting or like particularly groundbreaking.
No,
it's just, hey, here's all this stuff you like.
Right, and it's like, and then yeah, okay, sure, but it's an interesting thing. Whereas I keep pointing to the thing that fascinates me the most, and once again, we won't be covering it because it's a TV show, so I'll mention it now. To me, is the Fallout show, where that is bringing the aesthetics, bringing that world, but telling a TV show story. It's its own thing.
And it's so indicative of the respect and appreciation that the showrunners clearly have for Fallout.
Right.
And then I was just reading something about the God of War series that they're making, and the showrunners of that are like, well, we're not going to play the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but so what are we doing? I hate to be so cynical about oh, it's just a cash grab. It's just everything is just a fucking cash grab these days. Yeah. But it's hard to not feel that way when you're getting people on board with something who don't appreciate either the story that they are telling or the game it's based on as an art form.
It's an interesting thing because I think on two levels. Number one, the thing I've made peace with is everything is a cash grab from the studio perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all about that next person who's actually making the thing that really is going to matter. Because the idea that anything you like is art and anything you don't like is a cash grab is ridiculous. Everything is made for money, which is sad, but I just have to like make peace with that because everything I love is owned by massive conglomerations, right? So it is. So I'm just like, I gotta hope that the people make it. But then the other thing is similar to, and this season is very indicative of this, like going too far either way is a danger, right? Being so slavishly devoted to something can be a disaster, but also completely ignoring everything that works about something is I mean, it's something I heard one of the heads of Marvel was talking about this, that like if people come in and they're too big a fan of the comics, we get scared. And I get that. Honestly, like I do get where they're just like, no, you can't. That's not what Taskmaster's like in the comics. You can't do that. You know, that energy is not helpful when you're trying to create something. But at the same time, just go, fuck this thing. Who cares? Also, I'm going to do my own thing.
Definitely, there has to be some perspective on, you know, like, right, you and I have talked about this on our Stephen King season.
Yeah.
You know, when things are, when you're adapting from one medium to another,
yes,
you have to have some perspective about what things work in the other medium versus what they don't work in this new one that you're adapting it to.
Well, and of course the irony of that season so much that like one of the worst adapters of King is King, right?
It's
like,
King himself.
He's terrible at adapting his own stuff because he's slavishly devoted. That Shining miniseries is so boring, but you're just like, it's so boring. There's the book. That was in the book.
That's pretty much the whole book. You're right.
I was just listening to David Cronenberg.
But it doesn't work here.
I was just listening to David Cronenberg, one of my very favorite filmmakers, and he was talking about, he goes, the first thing I do if I'm adapting something is I just make peace with, I'm going to betray this book. I have to. I just have to accept, okay, I've given myself permission to betray the book and do what's right for the movie. And I think that's the best attitude. It's not a matter of ignoring the book, but just going like, if I have to, I have to. I'm taking what I need from it, but this is a movie. It has to be its own thing. And I think that's a good 100%. Attitude. What's so crazy about this movie, getting back to this though, is that Gans acts like he's slavishly devoted to the game. He talks like he is.
Like going back to that he's talking about, like, he's such a huge fan of the games and he plays all of them. He's a huge gamer.
Yeah.
And yet he made all of these choices, and sure, we can put some of a little bit of it on the studio for Gans' sake. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah.
But there are changes in here that Gans himself is like, this is what I wanted to do, and this is I did this. And it makes absolutely no sense to the spirit of this thing that he so-called loves.
Okay, here's the crazy thing I read about him that is so on this same point, so I can bring it up now. Gans brought a 40-inch television to the set, which he attached his PlayStation 2 to. He then played the game for the actors and crew to show them how they should move and what things should look like. Which I gotta say, as an actor, and I'm not saying I'm at the level of a Sean Bean, but I dabble in the acting field. I would strangle him to death. Move like this video game. Walk like that. Are you fucking kidding me? And he's playing. Okay, wait. I just like, no, hold on. Let me get past this part. Okay,
Well, then I have to say,
no, wait a minute. I swear I said
doing a
this.
live live.
And just the idea of like, imagine, because you think about a movie. This is a big studio movie. There's got to be like 60 people around him, and he's just got his TV. Okay, like this, just like that.
I have to meet Sean Bean.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, so what was it like getting to see the only Let's Play that Christoph Gans has ever done?
Yeah.
Do you remember it at all?
Oh, if he ever comes to a convention here in Portland, we're going, and you're going to ask him that question. Yes, Mr. Bean. Real quick, yeah. No, nothing to do with Lord of the Rings or any successful work.
Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or whatever.
Yeah, no, fuck that shit. Let's talk about Silent Hill.
What is up with Christoph Gans?
Yeah. Well, and he'd be an interesting one because he of course then gets directed by the next filmmaker as well. So that must be oh man, I just saw who directed the next movie. I'm actually a big fan of MJ Bassett's. We loved her version of Solomon Kane, which we just raved about during our Pulp season with myself and the Jones boys. we fucking loved Solomon Kane. I'm not saying that's going to be indicative of my enjoyment of this movie. It helps that I also really like the Solomon Kane stories. But she nailed that, man, and she's doing. Which fingers crossed, we're still fingers crossed. Us over on the Pulp thing that she just finished filming a Red Sonja movie.
Oh damn!
Which I'm like, well, she did such a great job with another Robert E. Howard character, so maybe. I just Red Sonja is one of those things where it's like there's like one way to go right and 800 ways to screw that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, she's a good director. That's unfortunate. Probably a less crazy set at the very least.
Sucks.
I doubt she was playing the game for actors. I would be shocked if that's what she was doing.
She maybe had a little bit more professionalism than that.
Yeah. Shout out to her too. She actually commented on our episode.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can help her get the 4K restoration of that Solomon Kane movie going. So write to whoever you need to write to. I don't know who you write to about that, but that's part of that. She is working on that, and we're trying to help. Anything else you want to say specifically about this movie before I get to the reactions to it?
I mean, let me look at my notes really quick.
By the way, $50 million movie.
Wow, is that a lot?
I think it's a lot for this kind of movie.
Okay.
Horror in general is popular with studios because it usually costs less.
Yeah.
Because this movie is actually indicative of something I say about horror a lot, which is I feel like horror is a genre that actually tends to do better with less money. Because when you put a lot of CG in it, that really does damage the scares.
100%. This is not an important note, but I have to say, loved the cell phone necklace.
Yes.
Really need to bring that back in style.
Yes.
I forgot that was a thing in this movie, and I'd never seen it anywhere else, but I so dig it.
Yeah. I will say it's actually used somewhat effectively, is the idea that it starts buzzing out when they're in the thing.
Cannot give Christoph that. That is a thing from the game.
There you go. Yeah.
That radios and stuff get all fucked up when the monster.
I just assume anything good didn't come from him. maybe that's not fair, but having read enough of this guy's quotes, he sounds insane.
Yes. No, this one I wrote this as like a possible like intro bit.
Okay.
But it didn't pan out happening, so I won't.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll lay it on you off mic.
All right.
But no, that was pretty much it.
Okay. So this movie cost $50 million, as I said. It made 100.6. So pretty good.
Respectable, I suppose.
Yeah, doubling is. I mean, that's for especially for this time, not bad. What I have here, as always, I do this on every episode. I have here the top 200 highest-grossing films of 2006. Not based on anything, but just where do you think it landed in the top 200?
Will you tell me what number one is?
I will tell you what number one is. With a gross of $1 billion, Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. That's the
that
second.
was 2006, wasn't it?
That was the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll give you the top five, actually, because as I usually do. The Da Vinci Code at number 2 made $760 million. Ice Age 2: The Meltdown, $660 million. Daniel Craig's first outing as James Bond, Casino Royale, is number 4. And Night at the Museum is number 5.
I don't think this movie broke the top 50.
Okay.
I'm going to say that this is 60.
Wow. 59. That's damn close.
Oh, I was going to say 59. What the fuck?
59. 59th. Sandwiched between Little Miss Sunshine at 58 and The Good Shepherd at 60, which is Robert De Niro's like 3-hour movie about the creation of the CIA. So,
great.
I mean, I dug it.
And you know what?
But that's my jam.
This is probably a little bit better than that.
Anyway, yeah. So it's got interesting company for sure. Yeah. Once again, mildly successful enough for them to make a sequel and then go, that's enough. Let me read you some highs and lows as always.
Boy.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Obviously, you could imagine a lot of 1-star reviews. But let's go to somebody who is. This is from Chris Crescenti. Title of the review is "Video Games Make Bad Movies, and this is one of the worst." There must be something really wrong with the world when a movie, that's in quotes, like this gets 6.6 in IMDb, at least while I'm writing this. My guess is that most of the votes are cast by fans of the game, who somehow cannot separate the game from the movie, as bad as it is. I was a fan of Wing Commander, but that didn't mean that I couldn't see that movie was horrible. Actually, it angered me that the quality of the film was so bad in comparison with such a good game. It is very obvious that this is a video game made into a movie, and a bad one at that. I never played the game, but my only explanation for the director leaving such an absurd and badly glued together plot is that they were faithful to the video game storyline. Ooh, sorry there, Chris. That's actually not true. Now, when a novel is adapted into a movie, nobody expects it to be a carbon copy. There has to be some input from the script writers. Why isn't it so with people adapting video games into the movies? My guess? Lack of talent by the people trying to adapt them. Oh, man. This guy's got his finger on the Hollywood pulse, doesn't he?
And also, it's like actually the two things that you have said are the opposite. The Silent Hill fans didn't like this, and actually, usually people are pretty expectant that a movie is going to be a carbon copy of a book. So I don't know what you're talking about.
This movie feels at all times like a video game without the fun. The monsters get badder as people progress and are completely different ones for no apparent reason. I even laughed at the part where they try to explain what the source of evil is because nothing makes sense and it only becomes more and more ridiculous. It seems they just tried to throw in all the shocking elements they could think of without thinking of how to put them together coherently. Not bad in a video game. Actually, I would say that is, but that's neither here nor there, Chris.
Whatever.
Where playability is the most important factor, and the storyline is just a plus, which is supposed to add a little depth between the monster slashing, but terrible in a movie where the storyline is supposed to be what entertains you. Not only that, the movie is completely predictable, and the directors seem to aim quite low at their intended public as they're making obvious in too many of the scenes something that was completely obvious from the beginning and that is supposed to surprise you at the end. The special effects were the least bad part of the movie, but they were far from impressive. You could always tell they were computer animations. The nude in the movie is also computer effects. Actually, I will say that is one of the most disturbing things in the movie is when that woman's skin gets pulled off.
I had actually kind of forgotten about that part of the movie, so when I was watching it the other night, I was like, "Oh, whoa!"
I gotta say, that's the only part.
Just ripped her damn skin.
That's the only part that I was like, "Okay, Jesus, all right, that's the closest to a scare I had of like Jesus." Yeah. And some of them were too faithful to first-person shooters. Character figures move more cartoon-like. The movie fails completely to create any suspense, as it is completely predictable. The characters are completely dull and cartoon-like. It's not either shocking, as supposedly shocking scenes are computer animated and not that gory. They're not even laughable. There is nothing that will surprise you for this movie. Nothing is original. It's all like a random gathering of clips from other movies that have all been better than this one. I would continue, but it's unfair to continue wasting time on such a bad movie. The only excuse to see this movie is if you're a fan of the video game, and I suppose you would be disappointed by it. 1 out of 10 stars. I guess Chris didn't like it.
Weird.
Here's somebody with the exact opposite opinion, although I guess their name may indicate why. This comes to us from Sadistic Cabaret, who titles their review, Best Video Game Movie Yet. I'm not sure what the original commenter leaver saw last night, but it certainly wasn't Silent Hill. I saw a critic screen last night, and I must say I was highly impressed. As a fan of the games and anything related to them, my faith has been firmly established in Gans and Avery, and I can only wish for sequels. The atmosphere was perfect, the acting was on point, the creatures were amazing, well, everything was amazing. The town itself just looked just like the town we love, and it's almost like coming home again. You'll see what I mean when you finally get to see the film. Just be prepared for a disturbing, bloody, parentheses, oh man, the blood, and genuinely creepy ride. I'd say more, but giving spoilers would be like slapping you in the face. Go see it. By the way, the blood, I was actually surprised at one of the reasons that skin thing, it's not that gory,
It's
actually.
not that gory.
Because it is rated R, and like I said, other than maybe a couple of moments, I was really surprised at how tame it was. Especially for being like, these games are known for being super scary, and this movie is setting out to be the super scary. I remember all the trailers like, you won't believe how, and you're just like, it's pretty generic in a lot of the scares.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of modern films, but that's how I felt about Veronica too. Everyone was like, all the reviews and like advertising for that were like, this is the scariest movie you're ever gonna see. You're not gonna be the same person after you watch this. And I watched it and I was like, I mean, it's a possession. I've seen possession movies.
Yeah, I gotta say
and this was one of them.
I don't know if that speaks to us, but we talk about that a lot over Meet the Monsters too.
Yeah,
Brendan and I are both people who are like, okay, like going like, all right, show me something, and 9 times out of 10 it is like, you hear this is the most disturbing thing. I go like, I mean, I don't know, it's all right. Maybe people just don't watch as many horror films. I don't know what it. Yeah,
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not, and that's a shame. All right, well, that's those are our thoughts on Silent Hill.
With that, the fog is lifting. We can see Toluca Lake from here, and I think it's time to leave Silent Hill for now.
At least for now, before it
swallows
comes rearing
us back in.
Rearing its ugly head back up. Now it's time for me to head into a different. You'll be back for Silent Hill. Was it Silent Hill Revelation?
Yeah.
I guess between 2006 and 2012 is where we started that phase of sequels with just a word that could be anything.
Speaking of Clive Barker, he got a Revelations himself.
Oh God, we'll get to that. We're already talking about the Hellraiser season that's upcoming.
I know.
Which I'm kind of excited for, but also terrified of. But not because the movies are scary.
I'm excited for the first 4.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there's some stuff. But I'm headed over into a whole other universe of video games, which is the universe of the Hitman.
Ah,
that's right.
Hitman.
The bald-headed, genetically altered, I think, maybe? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I've actually
Unclear.
played like all of the games, but like his actual backstory is still a little fuzzy for me. But Mike Gargano will be back for that, our chief investigator, and mainly the guy who was stupid enough to say, look, if you can't find anybody, I'll just fill in on those.
Yeah, that's on him.
Yeah, that really blew up in his face. We'll be talking about that. The first Hitman movie, starring one Tim Oliphant, who I love, and who I know for a fact needed money after Deadwood was unexpectedly canceled.
Yeah. hate when that happens.
Yeah. All of a sudden, oh shit, I gotta shave my head and go to Bulgaria. Yeah, that's the story I heard him tell. So anyway, Elliott, thank you as always. Of course, you can also hear Elliott every week on Material Components, and frequently can hear Elliott on Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters as well.
Indeed. And if you're hankering for more video games and Elliott, you can watch our actual. No, Let's Play. The other one's an actual play.
Yeah.
Our Let's Play series on Mass Effect.
Yes, right. On our YouTube channel, which once again is youtube.com/@panelup, at punchup. Jeez. Panel Up is a show we do. But if you want even more from us, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/punchupent. That's punchupent. Get cool exclusive bonus shows, including hearing me talk about very old horror movies on the Vincent Price and Peter Cushing shows that we do over there. So check that out. But I think that's going to do it. Until next week, the case file. It's closed.